Howdy folks, welcome back to the Steampunk Desperado channel. I'm your host Vaughn Troide, and I am the Steampunk Desperado. This is the place where we talk about that most wonderful and marvelous of all science fiction genres, steampunk. That variant that deals not just with the future but also with the past, with alternate history, crazy timelines, and all sorts of rip-roaring adventure. We will be bringing you reviews of all sorts of novels, movies, short stories, TV shows, animes, cartoons, anything steampunk. This is the place to see it. Today we're talking about a classic novel, one of the forerunners in the steampunk movement, called The Difference Engine. Published in 1990, written by William Gibson and Bruce Sterling. This was in fact the first steampunk I ever read and what got me interested in the movement. This book, which takes the reader back into the 1800s, into an alternate science fiction-y past, is concerned with an invention called the Analytical Engine, which was created by a guy named Charles Babbage, and that really happened. He really did create this in 1837. It was like a giant mechanical calculator that was made out of gears and rods and pulleys and that sort of thing that could do additions and subtraction. As far as I understand, the thing did work, but it was big, cumbersome, and it never became a commercial success. Now, in this alternate history that Sterling and Gibson envisioned, it does become commercially successful, and it initiates the computer revolution 100 years earlier, which really changes and revolutionizes human society and makes things unfold a lot differently than they did in real life. Makes for a very interesting story. In this world, the British Empire, because Babbage was British and the Analytical Engine was invented there, they become even more powerful. They're like the undisputed kings of the world. It's a book that's got a very complex plot, as Gibson's books, which I am familiar with, often do. And there's lots of schemes and machinations and lots of different characters. There are some of them that are historical characters. That's a fun thing we do in steampunk. We like to take historical people and put them in our stories, and because the history is different, because the timeline is different, their situation is different. Ada Lovelace is of course one of the characters in this book. She was Lord Byron's daughter, and she is considered the first computer programmer because she helped Babbage program his analytical engine. And in this world, she's kind of celebrated as almost the goddess of technology. In this British Empire, they recognize scientists and technologists and inventors as being more important than aristocrats, which is part of the reason they're so successful. And they have a party called Industrial Radicals that dominate society. And Charles Darwin's son is like Prime Minister, or perhaps it's Charles Darwin himself, don't quite recall. And there are other historical characters in this book, including Lawrence Oliphant, who was a real-life spy for the British. He was a travel writer also. I can't think of a better cover for being a spy, especially in the genteel Victorian times, where this gentleman adventurer goes around and is secretly an intelligence agent. Other characters, we have Captain Swing. That was actually a pseudonym that was written, a signature for a series of notes for farmers and so on who were upset about industrialization. And in this case, they make him a real character, kind of a Luddite, kind of a revolutionary. Edward Mallory, a paleontologist. Sybil Gerard, a high-class courtesan. She is actually borrowed from another work of fiction by Disraeli, I believe. And last but not least, Mick Radley, secretary to President Sam Houston of the Republic of Texas. Because in this alternate history, Texas never joined the United States, and in fact, the Confederacy is split away, and California is separate, and what we now know as the United States is just the northeast few states. So that's part of the reason that Britain is more powerful, because they're not going to have the US coming up as a rival. The central theme that connects all these disparate characters in this book are a deck of punch cards, which contain a computer program. Now, those of you who are young or don't know the history of technology may have never heard of this, but in my day, back in college, we used to write our computer programs on a terminal, and then as an output, we would save them onto a deck of cards. This is the kind of storage that's used in this society because obviously it's a mechanical computer, so you would have mechanical storage. The reason this computer program is important is because people believe it represents a system, a gambling system that allows you to win at game of chance. It's like the gambler's holy grail. And of course the casino owner's nightmare. So all these people are looking for these cards and trying to capture it from each other and so on. It's kind of like it's the centerpiece of all this skullduggery going on. In reality, it's more serious than that. It's got some really important mathematical theorems encoded in this program, and that's also makes it interesting because Gibson and Sterling incorporate some real science and some real mathematics into the story. Now, this book inspired a mini boom of steampunk, and there were other authors writing. Not nearly so many until the 2000s, but it did bring the genre into the public awareness. And it also inspired a video game called Chaos Engines that was published in 1993 by Renegade Software. I've never been that much of a gamer, and I have never encountered this program, so if any of you know about that, where a person might find it, and if there's some sort of emulator where we could play it on a modern PC, that would be pretty cool if you would let us know. Now, every review of Steampunk Desperado, we give the work a rating. Our system is not a system of 5 stars, because this is steampunk. It's a rating based on 5 gears, of course, because gears are what we're all about. And I give the difference engine a rating of 4 out of 5 gears. The reason I've deducted an entire gear from this classic work is because it's a little overcomplicated. It's a little bit difficult for me even now to recall quite all the different things that went on in it. In any case, I do plan to reread it at some point, because it is a good book, and I do recommend it nonetheless. So that's my review of The Difference Engine, published in 1990 by William Gibson and Bruce Sterling. Please let me know in the comments below what you thought of this review, whether you liked it or didn't. And if you did read the book, what you thought of it, what's your take on it, if it's any different than mine, or maybe you think the same. So for now, that's all, and come back soon and see us again. We'd really love to have you. Thanks for watching the show. And this is Vaughn Troity, the Steampunk Desperado, saying adios amigos from the Steampunk Desperado channel, where the past meets the future and the present is extraordinary.